Welcome, welcome. Good day. Come one, come all. We getting after it today. On hand. Topic of discussion. Authentic. You keeping it real, or you out here floundering? You out here fooling, faking. Now, it is up to you to decide, up to you to choose, but there is great benefit and life-changing things happen when we just start being ourselves. I think.
Authenticity is important, and it is the topic of conversation today.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start?
As is customary here with the two of us, let's start by framing the conversation with some general definitions. So, what do you think authenticity encompasses?
I would say authenticity of self is trueness to one's own belief and being open to where that journey is going to take you. Not blocking a blessing to go left or right when the authenticity that you're partaking in is taking you in a straight line.
Mm,
Don't turn left, don't turn right because someone else said you needed to. In my opinion, authenticity is you being one with your thoughts. You letting those thoughts come does not mean you have to act on everything. Okay, let's don't get it twisted.
yeah,
Just because you think that you want to smack somebody in the face does not mean you need to smack them in the face. You can be authentic to the emotion, but you don't have to take action on it. I think authenticity, it is something that we are not rewarded for in society unless we have the clout of society behind us. I think that people that are looked at as savants and subject matter experts and at the tip top of their craft, a lot of times there's others out there that are as authentic as they are, as they very well may be right now, or as they were before, but they're not glorified because they haven't popped off. So I think that authenticity is you need to be true. You need to be true to the process. You need to be true to your thoughts. You need to be open minded enough to be willing to sit with your thoughts and potentially talk about those thoughts with others.
yeah. I think that's, a great way to frame it up because too many examples exist of people who we could call out of the box or original, when in reality, there are a lot of people who could be original, but then it kind of falls into that category of what is somebody really doing what they're doing for. So whether they step into sculpting or painting or let's take fashion, right? It is very well known that art thrives off of consumption of other art, right? So inspiration sources, this, that, and the third, influences, ideas. But I think that as a whole, a lot of people who would consider themselves creatives, they haven't really stopped to step back and realize that they are regurgitating what they consumed and in an attempt to think, okay, if this is what this person does, then if I replicate it or emulate it, then it will yield the same sort of fruits for myself. And that's just not the case. And so when we find people in that position, then what really goes on is that their own true perspectives, their own true gifts, and their authentic creativity and artistry that often becomes the sacrifice because they haven't seen the popping off yet to really realize like what they feel, what they think is good enough and could be something to pop that somebody else wants to copy and regurgitate down the road. But there has to be enough confidence in self for that to really take a true hold.
Do you feel that people abandon authenticity because they're insecure?
Fuck yeah. I think it can be that. I
Can
think
you
it
give me a
can be
personal
that.
example in your life?
Yeah. So being authentic in relationship to, let's say, sometimes I don't want to always fall back on an example of music, but let's just say out the gate, right? I came in rapping, right? Not that I'm not interested in rapping,
Hmm.
but as I listen back to some of my early stuff, you know, is that how much of that was what Sae'Von would have gone on to make on his own, and how much of it was, all right, well, what's the whole vibe of the clique right now? What's the vibe of this project? Let me hop in the vibe, right? Which is like, there's times where that makes you
Mhm.
a good collaborator, right?
Yeah.
But then there are also those moments where it's like, okay, but if you never then create your own path, your own lane, what then becomes of it? Because after I kind of went off and started working on my own music, as did many other people from the group, obviously not even obviously, but the nature of what I was making changed radically. You know what I mean? And I mean, one could argue that I was insecure that, and I know this because there were times where I would write certain songs and I would just think to myself, man, people ain't trying to hear this shit. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody trying to get preached to. Ain't nobody trying, they want to hear about rapes and mollies and, what I'm saying, whipping the wrist and, what I'm saying, all the stuff that was popping back in 2018, what I'm saying, 2017 when shit first started getting rolling. But it wasn't until I really, after graduation, took that time, really like all of the back end of 2017 and through 2018, I basically did nothing but be by myself and work on my craft. And it was in that period that I really found my sound, my voice. But oftentimes it truly takes shutting out noise.
Interesting. Because I feel like authenticity is something. It's something that I have not practiced.
Yeah, talk about it.
Okay. So I haven't practiced. And if you've listened to any of these other podcasts, I've been poking at this a little bit. I haven't practiced authenticity. There's a lot of compartmentalization that has gone on in my life. And I think that it is the foundation. I think it's a foundational building block, one of them, for me not reaping the rewards of what I can bring to the table, of the versatility, of the different medium expression that I have. Most people see me on the street and have no idea I do photography.
Yeah,
I gotta watch in military time. I've got a
yeah.
clean cut haircut. Um, stay armed and got a belt on all the time. So people see me in that light, and I think that just as that assignment of who I am as an identity, when it's applied in another area, not with that same marker, but in creativity or in the creative space, especially with the photography. Hey, James, you take pics of booties, Hey, you doing OnlyFans content, you doing this, you doing that. It's very interesting to see how I emotionally react to that, and then to see me intentionally be inauthentic
Mm,
because people label me a certain way, and it garners a certain amount of attention
yeah,
when you play that way, right?
yeah,
When you dumb some things down, when you maybe you don't lay into somebody that needs to be laid into for doing some nonsense. Um, there's, I mean, authenticity is needed, right, to be your best self, in my opinion. And in the creative space, a lot of people are not authentic. A lot of people, a lot of people just copy, right? A lot of people just look at, oh man, here's the trends.
yeah.
Here's what we're doing. We're gonna, the trend train is going this way, and so we're just gonna hop on it. And people think that if you don't do that, you'll be run over by it. Well, there's countless examples of individuals in artistry in multiple mediums that has not happened to, that you could call an anomaly, or you could call the authentic individuals themselves by name. They have been the quote unquote trend setters that people
Hmm.
have copied, and we see these people, and I don't need to go on a
Yeah,
a mission of name dropping all kinds of people.
yeah,
I'm sure we can all look to some sort of creative inspiration that we have and assign that title
yeah.
to them.
Innovator,
Yeah,
original,
yeah, but
authentic.
yeah,
Yeah.
my question to anyone that labels someone else as any of those things is, why aren't you labeling yourself those same labels? Because at the end of the day, They are an individual, right? You are not them. They are not you. But by them not being you and you looking to them for inspiration, does that not make you an individual too? Does that not make you a being that can be authentic as well? And I think creatively speaking, there's much room in authenticity. There's the ability to be multifaceted.
Yeah.
We like to, oh, let's self-limit and stick ourselves in this lane and never change and only do what pops. And in a lot of ways, I've done that for years,
Mhm.
and it's not beneficial. It's not fulfilling either.
Yeah. And the reality is trends are always going to change. So the question is, are you going to be on the back end of that, following, are you on the caboose of the train, or do you walk your ass onto the front to the operator, and begin to drive that change? I mean, there are so many opportunities for an individual to just from being themselves pop. Like there's this guy in Atlanta, I can't remember his name right this second, but he does this very particular style of artwork, and it looks like ropes, but it looks kind of animated, kind of like some Nintendo, stuff going on, bright, saturated colors. Um, and he wound up kind of getting this deal, and he had his own artwork on the Atlanta United soccer team's jerseys. He's got installations at Underground Atlanta, you know what I mean? And when you look at it, you might not necessarily think much more of that in and of itself, but that was an example of somebody doing something a little bit left of field, a little bit new. I ain't gonna say risky because I mean that's a style of art. It's kind of like a iteration on pop art, so Andy Warhol type of stuff. But for the 20th century, and now have no doubt you will see people who take what he's done and emulate it, but you'll also have people who just take it as inspiration, and it allows them to run faster with what they were already envisioning. And I think that's where there's no need to be on either polarity of like, well, everybody else is trash, you know what I'm saying? And I'm the only one out here doing dope shit, and not being on the side of like, well, I'm trash because they're the ones doing the dope shit, not me. So I have to do what they do. Like, be authentic as well of expressing your love for others' art, because by doing it, you feed and you build that muscle of self-expression. Because if you're not self-expressing, you are likely self-repressing, and then that can cause a whole lot of other issues. That's how we get a lot of other tropes and stigmas and memes of what an artist can be. The starving artist, you know what I'm saying? The negative Nelly, the one who went, I make my best art when fucked up shit happens. Like, you don't have to though.
Or when I'm severely intoxicated,
You know?
or when I'm only when I'm depressed, or only when I've thought about taking my life, or all of these things that people love to glorify, right? And they're a part of life. Depression,
Yeah,
anxiety,
they're real.
they're real. Well, we're not here to take anything away from that. But the fact that individuals want to go to a place where they want to self-sabotage to bring out their best art,
Yeah, like
um
sit your ass down, bro.
yeah.
That shit is weak. That shit is weak as fuck, because it's also that self-limiting behavior again, right? Like that is a facet of you, your personality, maybe your walk, your journey, but be authentic to those other aspects as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, maybe you have found yourself in a dark place, so your art reflects that and you're being authentic. But as soon as you start feeling better, don't feel the need to keep doubling down on that sad shit because it worked for a while. Like we even saw that happen in the rap game where there's this sad rap, you know what I'm saying, or this SoundCloud shit or this emo rap. And so then you have motherfuckers start to do, now I've let my language get loose. I'm sorry, I got worked up. And you start to have
are are
individuals.
you talking about individuals like Juice World?
Yeah. And you see, and he's dead now. So as you mentioned before we began recording today, your authenticity brings you to an outcome eventually, based on what you are being, what based on what you're living out. And oftentimes people may find themselves feeling, oh, I am being authentic. I'm being my best self. I'm being my most authentic self. But it's like, are you really though? Are you really though? Or are you playing into a stereotype, a role, a trope? Are you trying to be a creative character? Do you as a person want to be in a genre of a type of person? Or are you taking that time to ask your why once, ask it twice, ask it thrice, get 6, 7, 8 of these ask deep to really realize why are you doing what you're doing. Some people do the art so that they can be admired and adored. Some people do it so that they can have notoriety and fame. Some people do it as a way to reach catharsis and healing from things in their own life. But if you don't really know why you're doing it, then it's very easy to get pulled off of your path that truly is one step in front of the other forward and get pulled to the left, to the right, yawing back and forth because you don't really have a good grasp or foothold on why you're doing what you're doing. Thus, it is damn near impossible to be authentic because you don't even know where true north is.
That's interesting. That kind of goes back to something we were talking about earlier, where you can take a lot of action towards. You can take a lot of action, but if you don't have a direction, you don't have a place where you're trying to end up. Where the hell are you going? You're going into nothingness.
Yeah.
And so I think it's interesting though that when you talk about authenticity and we're talking about people trying to take that 4 steps too far and be the embodiment of a sweeping generalization of a what they look at as, man, all the best artists
Yeah.
were like this. Man, all the best art, and let's run through some stereotypes of
Let's do
artists.
it.
All the best artists are on drugs and alcohol all
Right.
the time. All the best artists don't take care of their health. They're drunks. They're, I mean, chime in here. There's
Yeah,
like,
the specific examples that I saw very much impact the music community, the rap
Mhm.
community. You know what I'm saying? These poppin' rappers, they all sell drugs. They all spend, tens of thousands of dollars on jewelry. They all are
It's almost like
promiscuous. A
prerequisite.
prerequisite. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Jacked up that word.
And it's fascinating because then when you start to, as I have noticed individuals that I've seen in real life, not just online,
Mhm.
and I really do take an audit of their tendencies and habits as I know them, as I'm familiar with them, you know, it does start. It's amazing how things line up. Like you are not, you sow a thought, you reap an action. You sow an action, you reap a habit. You reap, you know what I'm saying? You sow a habit, and that's your character
Mhm.
ultimately. So these things that start out is with the influences. And so an individual has to make that discernment of how to separate the art from the artist. And that's another thing that I think a lot of people struggle to do because because if someone takes in, when I first heard Yeezus, I didn't know how I felt about it, but I knew it was mind blowing, right? But that was how I felt about the music. I don't know shit about Kanye West.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So like I cannot mix the two because then I can admire and put somebody's piece of art on a pedestal almost like a religious deity. But then when people start doing that with the artists themselves, that's when justifications can come in because they value their art so highly. They think that this is a perfect being who created it, or not even that they're perfect, but that if they want to create art that has that same level of impact, that they have to emulate all these things, not the work ethic. Like, yeah, to make an album like that, man made a beat every day for several summers. Like, are you putting that type of legwork in? You know what I'm saying? Kurt Cobain, yeah, maybe he had all these issues, but you know what I'm saying? Are you writing as often as he's writing? Are you spending the time? Are you really sowing the energy where it actually matters? Or do you think that and I think this is something I'm just realizing even in this moment, that a lot of people may have this misunderstanding or this idea in their subconscious, their psyche, that it would actually be the easier route to reach that ultimate destination of an artist like that by doing the easy things, which are often copying the detrimental aspects of their life. You know what I'm saying? You don't see too many people like, yeah, man, well, this artist, man, they're a great father. So if I'm a great father, I can make art like them. But they'll make the justification, man, they drink lean, they sip on lean in the studio. So that's how they come up with that vibe and that fire shit. So I'm gonna sip the lean. You know what I'm saying? And they much rather, a lot of times people would much rather do the thing that's detrimental, whether it be because it's cool or it looks a certain way, plays in the image, all these things that just aren't authentic to who they are.
Yeah, that's interesting. There is, when, in my opinion, when people do that, and especially when people emulate others that have mental health problems, like
Yeah.
legitimate mental health problems, and then people emulate that. what that does is takes away from the individuals that actually have things going on,
Yeah.
all because you want to be X artist, all because you want to be at X clout. Literally taking on the persona of an individual that's dealing with mental health problems and pushing their actual fight with that down for your betterment. That's weak.
And it's something that most people they're not consciously aware of how it really is a slap in the face of, okay, you know, instead of it being a couple of musicians, let's keep with that example, who truly dealt with these issues like depression, suicidal thoughts, just the darkness, the hole, right? Whatever they created from that place was authentic to where they were. But if that's not your truth, your authenticity, anything you're doing is just it's a menagerie. You know what I'm saying? It's foo-foo. And and I think it is still a combination of what you said about people's confidence isn't in the right place. And oftentimes there hasn't been that time allotted for self-exploration. And what someone could really do is to start with things like figuring out what it is they're doing their art for, finding out various sources of inspiration that they authentically enjoy, and not telling themselves, oh, well, if I want to be a rapper, I have to like only rap music. Or if I want to be, this sort of author, I have to only read these sort of books. Like just putting all these boxes up that prevent them from just doing what is intrinsically in their nature. Like if you one day you make a rap song, but the next day you're really feeling compelled to make a country song, go make a country song. Don't do it because Old Country Road popped, you know what I'm saying? But do it because you like country music. You know what I mean? If you're someone who used to shoot grad photos and you were loving it one day and then it changes and like, you know what? I think I want to shoot hand models now. And that's something you genuinely have an interest in, then do it. Be
Don't block
authentic to
it.
that.
Yeah.
Don't block it.
Yeah, but also don't wave ride, right? Because what is the trade off? In your opinion, what's that trade off? Because there's a cost benefit to everything,
Now for sure.
right? Like you, for example, this is a pretty easily understood example, I think, for most people. For you to prioritize your health in your 20s, it's more difficult. But the cost of doing that, the sacrifice of doing that, has long-term benefits.
Yes.
All the people that run their 20s like they're going to get another body next year, right? They're
For real though.
run their 20s like they're going to get another body. Come 2021, here comes my new body.
Kidney transplants are easy.
Yeah. The people that do that, there is massive cost. There's little cost to run that now. There's benefit now, but then there's a massive cost later because maybe you make it to 60. Maybe. Or you could be, unfortunately, like some of the individuals that I went to school with and ran in similar circles, who OD'd, who didn't make it out.
No, that's real.
Right? So in your opinion, and that's a little bit deeper and darker than I was really trying to go, but in your opinion, what is that cost benefit for the wave riding, for the copying the trends?
Man, it's a bullet list. I think one of them is truly finding out what you were put on in this incarnation, this iteration to give to the world becomes the sacrifice. Your own happiness and fulfillment becomes the sacrifice, because if you are constantly keeping a facade maintained, that requires a lot of energy. Like, thankfully, I haven't ever really had to be in a situation where I wasn't really keeping it true to who I was. And that has, developed over time. But if somebody's out here riding a wave, and to ride this wave, they have to put on this whole, show to do that, that becomes stressful. And especially when you aren't living your truth, that cognitive dissonance kicks in, and now you might actually find yourself all of a sudden you are fucking depressed. All of a sudden you do want to blow your fucking brains out because you hate how you're living every day. You hate what you have turned into because it's not really what you were to begin with. But aside from those trade-offs, I mean, somebody might say that it's worth it to maybe make the money, from jumping in and cashing in on certain trends, bringing it back to the music, making music that glorifies doing drugs. Even if you are the most sober person on the planet. You know what I'm saying? The trade-off, yeah, you may have made some money, but how many kids died because of it? You know what I'm saying? And yeah, we keep it extreme for a second because this shit really does have consequences. People are highly, highly influenced by art. It's one of the most influential things on earth, more than people's parents, oftentimes, more than the values that their community may have instilled in them, more than any books that they could read. It's what they take in, what they watch, what they listen to, you know what I'm saying? And so the people who create that, it is a great responsibility. Now, and once again, it ain't any individual's responsibility to think about all the entirety of the earth or planet, but it is like, know that what you're putting out there is being consumed, and what does that have on the end user? So to me, that's where those biggest trade-offs are.
Yeah. So it sounds like to me that you're not on board with wave riding.
Well, thank you for actually bringing it up. I think that the wave riding sometimes can be beneficial for no other reason than putting something on somebody's radar that maybe they had no idea about. And now, if it does genuinely pique their interest, then it's like, oh, well, let me dabble. And if that dabble then turns
Mm.
into like, oh, I really do dig this, you know, then that's cool. But it's like it's grades, it's levels to the thing where there's a difference between literally just copying a trend and doing the exact same thing, and for the sake of hoping that it gets you to pop like these other people, and noticing that there is something that you can leverage that maybe was already in your domain, your wheelhouse, that maybe you just bring out of your portfolio a little bit more than what was hidden so that you can take full advantage of the trend. So, for instance, I'll bring it back to music today. Today's the music day. What we're noticing is that this trap shit is dying. And I knew that that was coming. I knew that the trap was going the way of the dinosaur. It's been around for too long. There's only so much you can do with it. And what we're noticing, you listen to songs, from the Baby, from Roddy Ricch, people want real instruments in their music again. Guess what? Your boy has already been doing for years. And that's the shit that's been back in the backlogs. So as I see that this wave is increasing, someone could look at what I'm doing as, oh, he's riding that wave of using guitars, of using strings, of using this. But it's like, nah, nigga, I've been on this wave. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I knew that the timing wasn't the best, so even my first project, I put the trap songs on the front end because I knew that that was the wave. It's not that I didn't really like that stuff, that I didn't love it and it wasn't authentic, but it's like you can take advantage of a wave and still be true, but just as likely, just as much, someone could falsely, behave in a way, put on this persona, this mask, so that they can ride the wave and it seem like that wave spits, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It sounds, yeah, it sounds to me like, and I think I said in the same area. It's interesting to take a look at trends that are going on and use that as a window into seeing if there's anything else that you're not currently doing that you can try.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not necessarily let me change up my whole identity to try to run in a direction that everyone's running in.
Yeah.
But hearing, seeing looped videos on IG, and then me, oh, okay, how'd that work? Let me see if I can do that.
Yeah.
To add that tool to the toolkit, I think is a completely different breakdown than, hey, because because everyone's gonna go because everyone's gonna go orange and teal. I'm gonna go orange and teal.
Great example.
Because Sam Calder, Matt Como, and a few other people decided to go orange and teal, then everyone and their damn mama thinks that orange and teal needs to go. And our dearest friend, Sam Newton, loves to troll people because of that. Loves. And I think it's hilarious because when they did that for travel videography, right? All the people that I was counterparts with at UGA when I was starting out, man, everyone was like, oh, that orange and teal stuff, man. It's like crack out here. And what happened? Every video was skin tones that didn't look real. Looked like you were in paradise or the Avatar.
Yeah.
Real. The colors look great on buildings. Okay, wow, the sky, the sun, the moon,
Yeah.
the water, great. But then you have homie over here looking like Oompa Loompa.
Yeah.
Because it's too orange, right? Those frequencies do not make sense. So it's interesting because noticing that orange and teal is something that plays well, right? You can lean into that a little bit, desaturated on projects for travel agencies, on hotel gigs, on what have you, and play that because that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
But you also don't have to make someone look like an Oompa Loompa. And it also, you can still be authentic and still playing with that wave, but still be authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're not doing everything orange and teal. So it is something interesting to be able to emulate, to play on the wave, right? To make money on the wave, to, try to use the wave to your benefit and those around you, but also not getting lost in the sauce.
Yeah. Don't let the wave make you.
Yeah. You don't want to get pulled up in the rip current, and next thing you know, like, here you are, wound up dead somewhere. That's not where you want to be. So I think that it's so funny that came to me while we were talking about this orange and teal, man.
Man, no, I don't know if there's a better example, because we still see how it permeated the whole visual game. When I first started out, I was like, damn, yeah, so orange and teal is what it's supposed to look like. Excellent. But then you start playing with someone with some melanin and be like, hold up, though. I'm running into some issues here. They said do this to make it orange and teal. That shit looks weird, though. Why does it look weird? Because I didn't know the roots of where it started, because, those skies look delicious,
Yeah. The sunsets, the sunrises, the cars out in the
gives you all the
distance,
feels.
Ooh, the drone shots, all of it. But then you have somebody that's either pasty white or got tons of melanin in their skin, and the skin tones just look whack.
Yeah.
They don't even look like real people.
And so it's like, for me, that could have wound up being my cost of trying to ride that wave. Is now really my shit look funny, because I was like, but that was the wave, though. I thought that's what we did, But it does all come back to just knowing what the goal is, what the intention is, and being true to that. Being true to that, you're being authentic. You know what I'm saying? So if you like something, like it. You can be the guy who, you're this UFC fighter, but you also like ballet. Like, if you like ballet, like your motherfucking ballet. If you like your Pilates exercises, do your Pilates. Don't let somebody tell you can't, because you're a fighter.
Yeah. Did you see that? Did you see that thing that I sent you from Jared, the CrossFit athlete?
Nah.
Noble. He's a noble athlete.
Okay.
And he has a flower shop. He's like bigger than both you and I put together.
Yeah.
Massive dude, probably like 6'4", 6'5", like easily somewhere in the 225 to 240.
You make that ugly face like he's a specimen. You make that face.
Big dude. Yeah. And 6'5" might be a little stretch, maybe 6'3", 6'4". But anyways, he's got a flower shop, like legitimately a flower shop. And, they played on it a little bit in an ad. He wore like a little tiny apron, with no shirt on, like him like pruning flowers and stuff.
Yeah.
But if that's authentic to you, who's to say it's wrong? And the short answer, ding, 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 winner over here. No one can tell you that that's wrong. That's you being authentic to you. It's okay to want to write, to want to listen to opera, and then also want to listen to trap if you want to do that, right? It's okay to go garden, right? And then go be a cop. It's okay.
It's all good.
If it's authentic to you, run it. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
You know what I'm saying? And just because we both said we would make sure this got in this episode, all that authenticity stuff holds up as long as you're not infringing on anybody else's free will.
Yes.
Put that caveat out there, because
we're
in this era where some real nonsensical bullshit is getting justified because of, well, if it's my nature and I like this,
Yeah, and a good place for us to look at that in the space that I've got more experience in than I've got anywhere else would be with models. Okay,
talk about it.
Authenticity does not mean touching models, okay? For all you scumbags out there that think that that's okay, it's not. And you being authentic to your innate desires to do whatever you want is some bullshit, and eventually it's going to come back around, because that's not the authenticity we're talking about. That's you justifying you hurting someone else, and that's bullshit.
Yeah.
You don't have the right to take advantage of anyone. Your authenticity cannot infringe on somebody else. And we're not talking about emotions. I'm not talking about you getting mad because I did something that, I put out a piece of art that offended you because of your whatever background.
Yeah.
We're not talking about that.
We're talking about a real deal violation of your ability to live as a sovereign individual. You know what I'm saying?
It's a very good breakdown.
Like that's it. And so yeah, we ain't gonna linger. We just had to. We both said we got to make sure because somebody could very easily. Well, if I just happen to like girls who are a little bit younger than me, then what's the problem? And it's just like, yeah, y'all know what the fucking problem is. So
Yeah, so
anyway,
don't be on that weak shit because that is something that has no place here. And I don't give a damn how much you like the podcast, you like our art, you like whatever. You start doing that shit, we will distance ourselves from you ASAP. And there is no you talking about being complicit. There is no way I will not call you out.
yeah,
That's some
nah,
dumb shit.
for real. So also let that be a note that a lot of y'all who also create us art, you know what I'm saying, models, you know, especially people who kind of find themselves maybe on the side of the power spectrum where they have less, always know that you always stand your ground, defend yourself, speak up for yourself, and stay authentic. If you aren't comfortable with something, if this big shot photographer is like, well, this is what all the models do, it don't matter. Who cares? If you're not comfortable with it, if you don't want to do it, don't do that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, no matter what profession, what field, if you are not comfortable with it, listen to that voice, be authentic to it, don't do it. Leave the scenario, you know? So just know that, like, regardless of anybody's potential threat of, well, you'll never work in this industry. And it makes me think about, and we didn't go too deep on this, but just the Harvey Weinstein shit, right? And how there's all these performers, actresses, actors who were like, well, I was afraid because they said they threatened me with not getting work. Well, just to keep it blunt, then you have a decision to make. Either you believe enough in that and that vision of reality that you'll help manifest that shit by thinking to yourself, well, if I don't do this, I will never work again. I won't have this same type of career. And this isn't me pretending that shit, that people don't get blackballed, they don't get blacklisted. But as an individual, you have to make a choice of what you're cool living with. And no one can make that decision but you. But do know the universe will never punish you for being authentic to what is true to yourself and move off of that.
Yeah, I we're gonna go down, I think, in another episode on this side as it pertains to models and photographers and the relationship there. And so I don't want to go too deep
Yeah.
because I feel some type of way about this with people doing dumb shit, and then also individuals thinking that because someone has a certain name or someone's worked with a certain person that they need to just follow haphazardly what they say when they're uncomfortable about it. It's a
Hmm.
totally different story if you're comfortable with doing what you want to do. That
Yeah.
is your right.
Hmm.
But when you're uncomfortable and that light's going off on in your head, or something is ringing in the back of you, you're like, this isn't what I should be doing.
Yeah.
Maybe listen to it because I think that is a very good guide in collaboration, working with others, or by yourself. If you sit on your end where you create your art and you are unhappy while you're creating that art, you might want to do an audit. And I'm not talking about, oh man, today I feel like shit because I drank last night. Nope, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about consistently you feeling some type of way. And you can also, you've documented what kind of work you're doing, why you're doing it. Once you get to that level of self awareness, it probably should be pretty easy to spot where the inauthenticity is coming from
Yeah.
and why you feel that way, and
Hmm.
actually being able to label it as such. But if you don't ever let yourself get there, you're not willing to be self aware, then there's a whole life that you could live with being inauthentic. You could
Yeah.
live your whole life and then turn back around and be like, what? Why?
And that life could have been solid, could be decent.
Hmm.
But is it going to be the pinnacle of what it could be if you were keeping it real and authentic?
That's what we're talking about with potential. That authenticity, I think, taps 100% into that potential. You know, so I mean, I don't know. You got
Yeah.
anything else?
Yeah, nah, man. We don't gotta mistreat the horse today and beat it to death. So yeah. Keep it real, and beautiful things will happen. So thank y'all for joining us once again on our little fireside discussions here at One of One. We appreciate you. If you haven't already, consider subscribing. And if you've enjoyed this podcast or gotten some value out of it, it would mean the world to us if you shared it with one other person, who you think could really benefit from this. And if you want to have a chat with one of us, feel free to contact us at our socials. You can find me at Sae'Von Springer or Vegan Heathen Lifestyle.
And then you can find me at the James M or James M Gillespie. Gillespie.
Good shit, because people gonna be like, how the fuck I spell that? So yeah, thank y'all again, and we'll be talking to y'all real soon. Y'all take care, stay blessed. Peace.
Peace.